let's cast some StarCraft while talking about things. In the top right, as the yellow Terran, it is Dream. And in the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it is Hurricane. These guys played in the round of 8 of the most recent Olima League, and apparently it was a fairly long series. You had to wait on them for a little bit, so I'm looking forward to why it was long. Since this is from the Olima League, gotta give a shout out to the Patreon for the Olima League. You all know the drill, but just in case you don't, if you want your own replays of super high-level Korean StarCraft action because you want to do a better job at casting them, or you want to analyze them, or just to say that you have them, then all you gotta do is go to patreon.com/olimoly. And that'll get you all the information you need. It's a great cause to support as well, so if that's what floats your boat, then more power to ya. Supporting StarCraft. How does it work about who gets to pick up to go to an event? Depends on the company. WCS is kind of, you know, one person usually does the deciding and preferably lays out the plan in advance, although not always, about who goes to what and gives some justification as to any reason, but sometimes it does feel a little random or a little biased to the community or a little biased to the fact that they're like close by. But yeah, generally it's kind of set out in advance. This SCV is going someplace, but apparently it's gonna go home afterwards. Okay then. Reaper doesn't get into the main base. Asus ROG is done by different people who I don't even know. So didn't get contacted by them. Nation War is entirely by O Gaming, and they just decide, and they were nice enough to decide on me one year, which is really cool of them, but we'll see about this year. You always gotta take in, into consideration the logistics, right? So much money to fly someone over if they're from Australia or if they're from America and it's in Europe or anything like that. And for Nation Wars this year, I mean, their plan is to have the tournament over like a month and a half or 2 months or something. Like the actual like round of 36 or 24, whatever they're doing, not just the qualifiers. So it's an insanely long tournament, and they already had to spend a pretty penny on having us for what was 3 weeks plus one more week for last year's Nation Wars. So we're gonna see what happens with that. Yeah. Hopefully I gave you some insight. Hellions get in here, but it was only 2, so they're gonna need to 2-shot these. Well, this one needs a 4-shot on, 3-shot on. And it did. It tried its best. This Reaper, though, being a little bit more of an MVP, about to get a 3rd probe. Nope, just kidding. Both equally disappointing. But more Hellions are on the way. I guess he saw an opportunity to go in with 2 Hellions as opposed to waiting for the 4, but unfortunately 2 at a time. In the ideal world, I guess you have the probes nice and weak from the first attack is not actually the case here. So these just are scouting. If you go for a build like this, you do not have a lot of army units. So getting a bunker is basically a requirement, even if you don't think they're about to attack into you. All it would literally take is a stalker to start harassing. Barracks on the way, and a Liberator, and a Siege Tank. You got Blink into Robo. Kind of normal stuff here on Turbo Cruise. And a little bit of scouting with some Widow Mines. Again, if that stalker were to come across the map, well, that's hopefully where the Widow Mines do their job. Unless the stalkers, God forbid, come through another pathway like over here. But it looks like Dream is safe. Hurricane has no intention of going across the map, just chasing away the Hellions, and going for a 3rd Nexus, and continuing to macro up. Only big celeb I bumped into was Felicia Day. I would love to meet Felicia Day. She actually was like, I was like a huge fan of the guild when I was younger, and she seems like a really, really cool person. Never had the opportunity to, and I'm pretty sad about that. Well, this Liberator is sieging up on what is a gigantic Liberator, I guess. I'm not even sure what this is. Transport unit? This is such a weird... Why? I mean, if you're worried about a Phoenix popping out and moving it, you can just hold position it, but there's no Stargate. So that'll be a mystery. Speaking of Phoenix, a hallucinated one gets another scout. It already happened once, but going back in here, I think this would be around the time you'd see 2 more barracks come up. Maybe? Actually, I think it'd be a little premature for that. But perhaps also just scouting the timing of the medevacs, which, I mean, for the most part, builds along 2 bases have similar medevac timings, but certainly not always the case. And the medevac timing is when usually the Terran starts to move out. It's not quite gonna be the case for Dream here. It looks like he's gonna have to wait a little bit longer. If he pushes out now, he is at risk of having his army found by charge lots and blink stalkers without having that stim. But Hurricane actually didn't like invest all of his chrono into charge. He does not have his army out in the map. And it looks like Dream will be able to get across and actually have a little bit of time to wait even for that stim to finish. Turbo Cruise does have a nice little abusive spot basically right here for tanks. You get the tanks up here, you can shoot down here. We saw pretty devastating effects from that earlier on in this map pool when Stats tried to take the map, or this base. But it seems like Protoss players still like this base the most and are just, I guess, finding ways to stop such a push from actually happening. Charge is done, stim isn't quite. But luckily for Dream, all the charge lots weren't made here. In fact, not many at all. Hurricane actually going for more stalkers right now. And going for the force field, so the charge lots, however few there are doing their job. Here comes some more zealots. Another immortal comes in as well. And the tank spot that Dream chooses to abuse is actually on the right side to stop all those gas geysers from popping up. Not that Hurricane necessarily needed them. Kind of a gaslight style here. Widowmine's actually going into the natural. The third base, though, and the probes are going to go down here. Big losses on the probe line. And Hurricane doesn't even get to chase down what is left of the army, so a bit lucky there and very lucky over here. How many probes was that? 15 probes in total, plus the 3 or 4 that went down in the early game. That is 11 probes right there for the Widowmines. Very nicely done. But the army is finally found out. At least the medevac goes down. Can Dream hold on? The Widowmines almost attacking his own army. You do have to micro back from that, but this is such a terrible timing. The third CC is so close to being done, but he has to cancel it. That is devastating. Dream with just barely not enough units to defend against Hurricane's counter. If Hurricane had given up the chase, considering that he didn't have a warp prism, or his charge out count was getting low, or something along those lines, he would have missed that opportunity. Really nicely done there for Hurricane, as he just gets away with most of his units. I mean, he really only lost the zealots there, so that plus the loss of probes, it is still technically only a loss of minerals. So that's okay. The gases are now being added on, especially now that they can actually be added on. But also as he starts to transition into those high Templars, getting those double forge upgrades now as well. Widowmines, I think they could, well, they'd unload, but they probably wouldn't do any damage, so they're just kind of stuck until the stalkers move away. Observer in a really nice spot that I don't think Hurricane scouts. That's so annoying. Ugh. Double drop to the left side, might be scouted by this pylon that is specifically here to scout for that. Not quite, no. A little bit of a turn there prematurely. So this drop will be quite successful. The army has distracted all of Hurricane's army, really, except for these stalkers that are bothering with the Widowmines. Is Dream going to take opportunity there? If he remembers, maybe he will. Pylon is going to depower the Immortal production. That's pretty nice. Forge might have been the next target, but actually going after the stalkers is a good choice as well. He could try and get out of there. The Widowmines go into that third base exactly as I was talking about, and they once again get some nice shots. A total of 25 probes that went down, but SCVs have also go down. It looks like a Warp Prism got some Zealots into the main and natural, but Stalkers are being traded out with as well, so the Medevacs both get away. One even somewhat full there, and don't forget that depowering on a pretty important production facility. If only he had been able to get a Forge, it's called that a slam dunk for Dream. Without the Forge, I mean, it was still pretty damn good. You know, there's Stalkers that went down, there's probes that went down, but he was at a huge loss for losing that third CC. So even with that going okay there, he's not really made up for this problem. His next hope is that Hurricane gets a little too overzealous, and that might just happen here. Dream has Liberators, he has some Widow Mines? No, he has Ghosts, actually. Stop Widow Mine production. Oh, he finally found that Observer. God, finally. And moving into this could be a huge mistake. There's no Storm's EMP quite yet, but EMP is just going to be effective in general, especially as the army clumps up here, going after the Liberators. This one actually is besieged. Missed opportunity there, but only one Liberator goes down, and Hurricane, it looks like he regrets going in there. Storms are almost ready to go, and the Ghosts will have to be careful about their EMP usage, but Dream has the ability to hold on here, and it looks like it'll be successful. The next problem for Dream, however, are those upgrades. Double Forge has been in effect for a little while at this point. Not the most extreme of upgrade leads, as +1 only like recently just finished, but or +2 recently just finished, sorry. +2 armor is on the way, and shields is now what he's going to go into, so we could see maybe a lot of Archons. Maybe he just prefers doing this. We do usually see an emphasis on +3 attack, but I mean a +3 attack or armor, I suppose, but here he obviously went a bit later into the armor. So I would have expected that to be +3, but okay. Disruptor is now on the way out. Not going to benefit from those attack upgrades. Okay, that's what he's gone into. So he is still prioritizing the attack over the armor, but really wanted to get those shields. Interesting. Hurricane with a very solid armor supply lead also has the map under his control, looking for opportunities when Dream isn't paying attention. An EMP goes off, but still gets stormed a little bit there. Well, I think most of his army survived, and he grabs the High Templars. They're too slow to run away, so actually not bad for Dream. His fourth base is really recently started, but yeah, back to that map control. The Zealot here, we got observers elsewhere, I believe. The Zealot here stopped the 3rd CC from going down there a while ago. War Prism is back in action, as I guess it actually recalled out. I just assumed it died. That's... Really? Oh, it did die. This must have been caught by something else. Okay, well that's a very weak War Prism then. A missile turret will take that out, but Dream has not invested into that yet. He knows about the War Prism because there was a yellow thing attached to that War Prism, but I don't know what it was. So he's got Marines in position to tear it down, and that is good news. He finally starts his 2-2. It really did take forever for him to get started on those secondary upgrades. But at least his army composition's looking better against what Hurricane has in terms of the Ghosts. Like, they're important to have. He's paying attention to them. But now he has this new threat with Disruptors, and usually against a growing Disruptor count, the option for the Terran gets limited down to Liberators. It gets limited. It gets limited. Okay, I couldn't make a pun out of that. But you can also try to split against it. That works too, and so far so good. All 3 Disruptors kind of wasting their shots. He's gonna go after all the Storms. That's the trouble there. If the High Templars are out in one big clump, you can't really go chasing after an army, as the EMPs are hard to get if they're actually separated. Tries to go for a snipe and misses. Disruptor off cooldown. Gets a single Marauder. Dream's okay with that. War Prism unfortunately did get into that natural. Despite being so low on health, the Marines just weren't quite in position. That is a huge bummer because Dream really has to pay attention to this army fight. Disruptors have to be split against. EMPs have to be on top of the High Templars, but it looks like he is doing well enough. No Storms here, but the Disruptor not going to hit anything. Nicely done. The War Prism, though, continuing to wreak havoc in the main base, is getting into that SCV count. There's still a Zealot down here, killing supply depots. The Dream is hoping that the army fight's going to go especially in his favor. He goes for the chase, but unfortunately with the Disruptor is able to hold off there while the High Templars have died or been forced into Archons. The army fight not going in his favor, and now the economy is just running out of control. Hurricane on 4 going on 5 bases is just remaxing almost instantly, and a lot from that War Prism, to be honest, as he gets upwards to 170 supply. Dream now sub 100 is also down to 30 workers, and this 4th base hasn't even landed. Dream is absolutely going to lose this game. Thank you, Bobble Convolute, for the 54 months. 54. Good God. Last fight here. And it's not looking pretty. There's just too much Protoss army. The Disruptors really have not gotten amazing shots, but they've defended the army from being chased, which at 1 or 2 points it was rather weak. It was still kind of small. And otherwise, well, the game's already in favor of Hurricane anyways, who finally gets his 5th base up. That was that pesky little Marine that was attacking it. And really, if he just warped in a bunch of Zealots, I feel like this would be game over. They just literally wrap around that army. It's so small, so huggable, but he is still sticking with a large number of Stalkers and Disruptors and Immortals, which actually Dream takes on, and Dream actually shortening the gap there between their supplies. And let's not forget that about 50 of the supply is in those workers. Wait a minute, does Dream actually still have a chance here? 61 army supply to 63. He might be down in upgrades, but he just took down a hell of a lot of those robo units, as well as all the High Templars and the Archons. So the one sentry that was there also went down. All the really expensive time-buying units that he was depending on to control the map here are now gone. But sad news being, Dream would have been able to take on that army as is with his splits, with his EMPs. What are you going to do about the Colossus? You can try and get a concave, but if Hurricane's going to go up to 4 Colossus, which I think eventually he could even sacrifice his base and still be okay. Then that's bad news, but only 1 Colossus so far. 3 Liberators still standing tall, and actually maybe no focus fire. Like he's focus firing. He's too busy trying to split his army against the mass amount of charge lots. The Colossus might go down, and the Liberator is awfully close to doing so, and the Concave and the splits of Dream are actually good enough. And oh my god, does Dream win this game? Are you real? Are you real? The Archon's going to EMPs, plus that Liberator is still alive. Reinforcements coming across the map. Dream is back up to 4 bases, even though it's only on 39 SCVs, but he's slaughtering the Stalkers. He's running away from the charge lots, and the Colossus keep running into the Liberators, trying to end the game. They are his like ace in the hole there. They were supposed to save him from this circumstance, but he keeps on sending them 1 at a time. I thought he was building them 2 at a time. Why have there not been more Colossus? Finally, he brings in the reserve High Templars, it looks like, but the Colossus are awfully low. Storms go down on the remaining Bio army, but what about those Liberators? They don't even have any upgrades. They're doing their base damage, but they're holding this position as Dream desperately rallies in here. Now, behind this, he has built up the worker count quite a bit. 4 SCVs at a time has brought him back up to 48. Plus, he still has the 3 orbitals. They never died. Even a bunker to defend. Dream special at this point. Dream is actually making this work. He is still a bit down on the army supply, though, and I'm afraid that Hurricane has finally taken enough time to actually collect himself. The reinforcements not here to help out means that Dream supplying the front lines was not actually true. And it looks like Hurricane just needed time to breathe. Oh my god, Dream should not have been able to get so close to winning this game. The Archons are too chunky to take down despite being so low. He's going to retreat to the safety of the Planetary, and that is safe. That small Protoss army cannot take on the Planetary, especially since the 3 Immortals died so early on. He desperately wants that Archon. It's down to 6 health right there. 6 health. Damn. Wouldn't mind's guard against the army at the choke too. I don't believe there's an observer to see that. Orbital will be a much juicier target. Sensor tower goes down, an expensive loss at this point. But, well, that could have brought Dream's army back to defend. Dream actually goes for the attack, forces the recall. No observer will grab a stalker. Oh, let's grab a zealot instead. These zealots are going to die as well to the Wood of Mine, but can the medevacs escape? Such a low stalker count means that they absolutely can. Zealots on the right side are actually taken care of by the bunker and combination of reinforcements. It looks like Dream was also considering going for his own little drop there, so he just had enough units. This Planetary needs to be, oh my god, it needs to be repaired. It needs to be repaired more before the storms come in. Repair it as much as you can, but the storms come in anyways, and it's a goner. Unfortunately, the army was also cleaned up to the top left, and the secret base has been found, and now it's gotta be game over. Come on. Dream had a dream. He absolutely did. Oh, jeez. Oh, Lord. That's, ooh, yes. Ooh, yes. Good PVTs. Nom, nom, nom. Hurricane got a little overconfident, yeah. Kept on just running a bunch of units into the position without bulking up enough of them. If I get a non-bring your own computer ticket, would that keep me from StarCraft 2 events? No. I mean, I don't know what event you're talking about, but as long as you buy a ticket to the overall event. What's up, Andromeda? Yeah, Dream is, it's like, it's, of the Terrans we got back, 2 of them were weirdos, right? The playstyle was weird. It Fantasy and Supernova come back. And while they play rather consistently, and Fantasy even had that, like, he almost miracle run through GSL, they're kind of just weird players. They never really seem to have mechanics, as odd as that is to say for Fantasy, who was a fantastic Brooper player. Then we had Tasia, who is great, but doesn't really seem to put a lot of work into the competition. And then I think that kind of covers the Terrans, right? But anyways, but Dream comes back, and Dream, while he was always a bit weird, he like mech'd more than other Terrans, especially in Korea for some of those off periods when Gumiho wasn't meching, when Maru wasn't meching, right? He wasn't really super weird, and mechanically he was just like pretty damn good. But he comes back, and he actually just looks so similar to what he was before he left. Whereas the other guys either look too similar, in that they're not getting results, kind of the same as they were before they left, or they don't look at themselves. Tasia almost got there, but then kind of just stopped competing. But Dream has already made a little, like, what's the word, like Patience Blinks or Maru Micro. He's got the Dream bunkers. He's actually building bunkers at his thirds against Protoss. Signature move. Thank you. There we go. The top right, down a game, despite how hard he tried. It is the Yellow Terran Dream. In the bottom left is the red Protoss. He is Hurricane. Hello, everyone. Of all those games we were clearly winning and nearly throw it away, Hurricane's army was a little more throwable than usual, I would say. You know, when there's Colossus around and they don't have Vikings, unless you somehow lose the ground army, the non-Colossus part of the army, they kind of just bully everything, you know? But because the High Templars were being successfully countered by the Ghosts for like 75% of those fights, and Disruptors were being successfully countered by just splitting, which isn't really supposed to happen. They're supposed to be allowed at least one amazing shot and half a dozen good shots. Dream is actually doing what he was supposed to beat an army composition like that. Plus, the suppliers weren't really telling the tale. That is absolutely true. But when you consider that those are also units that were also better upgraded, it's like one of those things where like, yeah, you're just not supposed to win. You're supposed to be so pressured. You're supposed to be so, you know, the quality's supposed to be like they've outgrown you. But EMPs don't care about upgrades. Disruptors don't benefit from upgrades. There's a supply that was almost wasted in a lot of those fights. And eventually he got super bulked up, EMP'd to the face, and concaved on. And that's what made it look like it could possibly happen. If he had actually taken a chill pill and decided to stop messing with Dream, stop just trying to pressure him all the damn day long, then maybe he could have transitioned into Colossus and then attacked a little bit later, but also with a bit more of an army that like Dream would have really struggled to counter against. The reason you wouldn't do that is that if you think you have momentum, if you think you're going to win the game, well, you might just think you're going to win the game. That's overconfidence. You also don't want to give the opportunity for the Terran to plant that CC down, triple mule and quadruple SE production, and get back in the game. And I get that. But considering how much damage Dream had truly taken, the concept of him adding another starport and getting to enough Vikings or enough Liberators, like either option, I don't know. I really think that if Hurricane had chilled out and just gone to Colossus, bulked up his army, he would have dominated 2 minutes later as opposed to just hanging around like he did. He hung around, and Dream was like, get off my property, and smacked him in the face. That is certainly a testament to Dream's multitasking and ability to handle pressure, because that was some insane pressure that Hurricane was applying. It also is a testament to I guess, the problems of a disruptor. Mule goes down. That was a fresh mule. Adepticus in the main base, and this is not a great start to the second game for Dream here. Not at all. Oof. Hellions do eventually clean both of those up, but the loss of a fresh mule already hurts. 3 SCVs on top of that. Somewhere a probe went down. I guess the Reaper was doing something. Dream bunkers just sound like a bunker with lots of blankets and pillows on it. Like a pillow fort. It's a bunker fort. Okay, you know how 2 Hellions came in last time? 2 at a time? Well, 4 Hellions did in this time. Sneak right on past that opening before Hurricane actually filled it. And that is going to be a lot of dead probes. A lot of them super, super weak. If the Hellions get back in the natural, it will be Barbecue City. But they actually get stuck in the main. And their contributions in the main are a little less so. Oh, imagine if that wasn't walled off. You two are so dead. That was still a lot of lost mining time and a decent amount of counter damage. Dream has evened out the workers entirely, which when you count for mules is what you would hope to be at. Wouldn't mind drop, doesn't care about the weak probes, gonna one-shot him no matter what, but still looking even juicier. Good reaction from Hurricane. But Dream's gonna go ahead and micro here. Stalker count not quite high enough, and not with Blink quite yet either. Blink is done now, though. The Wouldn't Mind so damn low. It's gonna go for 1 probe. Not too much added on there. And Blink takes out the medevac. Okay. Okie dokie. That was a lot of action. Hurricane keeping up with it for the most part. Just sucks about not being able to re-wall right here. And the 3rd Nexus is on the way, so at least he's got that going already. It would be absolutely terrible if that hit and he dealt with that and then realized, oh, my probe never built that Nexus. That happens to us plebs all the time. Liberator's gonna come in, deal some damage. The Stalkers decide to go for a counter. Now, Dream's been very cautious about building a bunker, especially after these openers. You kind of have to. But that doesn't cover everything. The tank, though, the 2 tanks actually, I guess they were more concerned about the main base being blinked into, do come down to help out there. And the Stalker's looking a little bit useless because the Liberator just spent a lot of time denying mining, successfully escapes as well, and the Stalkers lose their lives and a lot of their health. One more shot. Can I shake out these 2? Oh, he's gonna get it. Oh, you are a lucky Stalker. Go buy a lottery ticket. But all right, overall, pretty nice for Dream there. Only down 5 supply. Observer over his army. It's a little annoying. Sees again that medevac timing, but in this case, medevacs actually would not be very helpful. We do not have combat shields quite started. Stim's not even halfway done. Medevacs would be waiting a little while, but he's going to go ahead and start those up. Round out his production and his gas income. The Observer repositions on that very nasty little dead space there. Behind this, Hurricane went for the Stalkers, and he is getting charged, but he actually went into Colossus there. Gonna fit that in, and is gonna be pumping out his first one, which Dream might be a little surprised by. Let's check that vision again. I didn't think he saw the robotics bay, and he did not. If he thinks it's gonna be like last game, could be problematic. Neither of these games has Dream gone for a Raven, which would be very helpful. But does take a considerable amount of time to build and a lot of gas. You really have to cater your build towards it. But he's going to go for the attack. Stim's going to be done, but not combat shields. I think that was just the price paid for all the multitasking these guys had to do. +1 also not quite done as the Stalkers take on these units. Very annoying in this case that combat shields isn't done. The tanks are supposed to be able to stop this. If they siege hop, it just takes so much time. You want to be hitting that nice crisp timing with all of those upgrades, hopefully before, say, these upgrades finish. Wouldn't that be perfect? Not if you're being harassed like this. Scan reveals, well, nothing, because the army's actually to the top side, but there's really just not a lot of army. The fact that it's a Colossus might be a little surprising to Dream, but I don't think it matters. He took down so much of the army here, he delayed so much of the economy, once again, this Liberator being a pain, that this push is looking pretty damn good. Now all the upgrades are finished. And it's kind of a short map, so reinforcements are coming here pretty quickly, especially those air reinforcements. You could see some Liberators added on once he finds the minerals. Tanks reposition. Nothing to actually punch them down too quickly, though. No Immortals. Look at this Colossus. Look how slowly it was killing that tank. It finally targets what it should be targeting, the Marines, but only after the rest of the fodder goes down, and 2 Colossus will not hold up by themselves. Wouldn't mind taking out the Zealots. The tank in the back still surviving. Colossus getting awfully low there, trying to micro back against the Marines, the Marauders, and luckily with the support of a couple extra units, he does take out the chonky boys, the Marauders. The Marines are almost a given. That's what the Colossus are supposed to be good at killing. But this is the type of unit they struggle against. 1 tank shot takes down 1 Colossus, 2 tank shots take down the other one as it breathes its last breath. And this looks like it's gonna be enough. Soccer's usually not so good in this situation. They're also gonna be actually down an upgrade. We're going Colossuses quickly. On top of all that denied mining, the lack of gas geysers in the 3rd base, we have Hurricane with absolutely no upgrades. He's now gonna try and make up for that with a double forge, but Dream took a pretty nice fight. He does not win the game off of that, but at least his macro behind this has been pretty good. There's the on location, not canceled this time, after started the last game off on such a bad footing for him. And it is going to be fully saturated already as he starts to add on his additional barracks. And he'll have this upgrade lead. Actually have a substantial upgrade lead against the Protoss. He's starting to make those Vikings as well. With fully saturated 3 bases, he should soon be able to afford a second starport too. And Hurricane, I think this is probably his best option. He gets back up to 2 Colossus. That's a decent count. That'll murder Marines pretty quickly. But I don't know if you really want to go to 3. Because you know, 3 is usually the count we do see Protoss go up to. Sometimes up to 4. And where's that scan? I was an observer. Okay. But I think when you know you're just taking a lot of damage, your mining is only just now where it's supposed to be, Terran's actually going to have that opportunity to collect too many Vikings for the Colossus to work against, basically. Again, Colossus can't do anything about the Vikings. They're not Tal'Darim Colossus. Woo! But hopefully if you have enough Colossus and they don't have enough Vikings, you get a couple shots off and it's still all Gucci. The Colossus still do their job. This game, I would say that wouldn't happen, so I like the choice to go to Disruptors. With Dream bulking up that count of Vikings, setting his production up. He has given a little bit of time here for Hurricane to get 1 Disruptor, but those upgrades still not even halfway done. Chrono's probably going into probes, a lot of those initial Chronos, and then maybe Chrono actually going into Storm and a single upgrade, but a supply block actually hitting him here is pretty devastating. He would really love a second Disruptor. First Colossus goes down, and there's not enough Stalkers to combat the Vikings, so 5 Vikings usually isn't a lot, but they are tearing down both Colossus. Those Colossus were effectively useless. Disruptor's still on cooldown as well, and that's going to be targeted next, and it goes down very, very quickly, and Hurricane is not in a position to take on a Bio Ball with nothing but gateway units, but the Storm certainly helps. It was a great Storm, actually, but that was his only Storm. A lot of Marauders left over will take down those Stalkers pretty easy because they still have an upgrade lead as well as just generally being good. It looks like that Disruptor tag, you noticed that the Marauder slow wasn't done. That's when I noticed it, but he's working on it now. Very quick upgrade. Ghost Academy's also on the way, and he'll be able to combat those High Templars soon. Hurricane, such tough choices to make. What do you actually go into at this point? More High Templars, more Charge Lots, more Colossus. He sends out that second Disruptor that was supply blocked for so long, but it grabs nothing. These High Templars are gaining back energy, but with so many Marauders on the field, even if they get a decent Storm, they shouldn't be killing these units. Archon gonna go down here? No, just barely not. Actually kind of baits the army into a pretty good Storm. Liberator's so difficult to take on, but Hurricane's gonna try and go for it. Takes them both down. Storm not really catching very much. In fact, catching more of the Zealots than anything else, and unfortunately not thinking that they'll survive the next attack. He morphs into an Archon, but here come the reinforcements. Stream's also going up to 4 bases, and his 2-2 is about to finish, so he'll continue having an upgrade lead. Only like a 20-second time here where they're equal. Conky is also fantastic on top of this ramp. And while 1 Colossus is free-firing, it's got its buddies to support it this time, and Guardian Shield. That's gonna only be temporary. Vikings are once again on the way since medevacs have been okay at surviving. There's been so many other things that the Stalkers have had to target fire, or the Stalkers have been killed, that medevacs have actually survived this fight, and like all of them have. Even the one that dropped off the Widow Mine. Nope. 6 medevac's definitely gone down, but that's a lot of medevacs to still have. I guess that's what happens when you had to double starport production. He's going back into Vikings, so he certainly can. Adding on those ghosts, they're already here. And he's just gonna be looking for a concave. EMP's the sentry. Once the EMP on the storm, you can't just actually blitz on top of this, but maybe now you can. Ton of marauders. He actually goes back into the storm. He is that confident. With only 2 Colossus firing here, the marauders will absolutely take it on. And that is going to be Dream's game. Getting some revenge. GG. Dream takes the second game and ties up the score. Needed more pressure versus Dream earlier. It's more that he needed not to take any damage from Dream's pressure earlier on. Disruptor killed the other Disruptor? Disruptors don't kill each other, so that's not possible. Unless you mean it in some other way. Blizzard was like, look at this Disruptor ball that Protoss are getting versus other Protoss. We can't have them killing each other. Yeah, really. A Nova will not kill a Disruptor of your own army. And in, you know, a rare move, I absolutely agree with Blizzard that back when PvP was nothing but Disruptor balls, they were awfully hard to control. Adding friendly fire on them would have made it an actual clusterfuck. Okay, when let's just explode at the exact same moment by coincidence. Probably that. My limit's also 1,300 calories a day. I would go back and look, but these are old replays and I have to like exit out of StarCraft every time. But if they did, it's a bug. Like they 100% don't kill each other. Hope you have a great time in Korea. Thank you very much, Denjanigma. Dejanigma. I nailed it. I ate 1,300 calories for breakfast. For a lot of people, it's an absurdly low calorie limit. And by a lot of people, I mostly mean tall men, but... for average to petite sized women who aren't like super obese and who don't exercise or have very active jobs, like they are down to 1,200 calories, and only because anything lower is a bit dangerous. So portmanteau of Deja Vu and Enigma. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, it's kind of a cool sounding name, though. I mean, it's not like Fear Dragon. I'm questioning whether I imagined that too. Give me Mother Minds, take a slash Mother Minds. Yeah. Yeah, disruptors don't kill each other. Like, I mean, if it's a bug, it's a bug. Apparently there's... Oh, what's that bug that someone posted on Reddit today? I know there's... Someone pointed out something pretty substantial. As we see, not much happening. Just a probe scout, command center. Not too much. Well, I can't find the bug that was there. Oh, the Infested Terran. Thank God. The Infested Terran anti-air ignores armor upgrades. That's a bug. It's a bug on a bug. Thanks, guys, yeah. But Disruptors, there's no place to have them buffed or nerfed, so they shouldn't have touched them. But they aren't supposed to kill each other. If they did, our mono battles would look very different. Who was the... Someone got Disruptors twice in a row. Unlucky guy, and doesn't even play Protoss. And he was being so careful not to explode all of his Disruptors, and I was like, they don't explode on each other. And he was like, oh, shit. Yeah, the Infested Terran thing is a big bug, especially because literally Infested Terrans are like... I don't know how, but they've seemed to have gone underneath Blizzard's radar a bit about how good they are. I know that they've nerfed them, but let's be real, guys. They didn't. Alright, Reaper finally goes down. Like, listening to the Pylon show yesterday about the balance talk, I was surprised that I disagreed with Juggernaut Jason for a couple things. But that's fine. But I was glad to see that everyone agreed that the Infested Terran stuff needs to change. They are way too powerful. And this is not even me complaining as a Terran player. I don't care. Late game's actually kind of fun for TVZ. I mean, watching ZVP is like, well, Joe Schmo got to 25 and faster, so I don't know, Kev. Anyways. Adepts, this time not gonna get into that main base. That was a problem of last game. Hellions, do this game decide to go into at a time. Seeing the opening and going for it. Hurricane did start things off very different this game by going for a Stargate. Right, something he hadn't done before, which might be a bit of a surprise for Hurricane, or for Dream, but I believe the Reaper scouted it. Oracle comes back to help out. It was close to being too far away to help. Like, maybe if Dream had waited a little while longer, he could have gotten in there, gotten a couple more shots, but oh well. Oracle expends its energy to dealing with the Hellions, so won't be able to attack the SCVs. Not that you're really worried about that. The Viking's actually searching for it quite aggressively. Sounds like scouting SCV or something. Wouldn't mind trying to catch the Oracle, but it'll be a little farther north. It's not gonna happen here. Viking does extra damage to the Oracle, so yeah. If you immediately turn around, you don't take any hull damage, but you kind of went in a little bit farther. Oh, lordy. Almost getting 2 extra units there. Adepts denied from the main. That Adept denied from living. And the Widow Mine's gonna try to be saved. I guess he went for 3 Widow Mines? I was gonna say, there's gotta be a 4th somewhere. Marauder slow, also a very interesting choice. Possibly expecting the Adepts to combo with the Oracle, and that being his reaction to it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's another one in the mineral line. There's 2 of them. Because he was expecting the Adept attack. Okay, that makes sense. Well, if Phoenix comes in, 2 Phoenix come in and take out the Marauders, which complicates matters here. The Viking, though, still trying to be a boss. Target fires the Oracle. Phoenix a little less hassle to deal with in terms of losing SCVs to them anyways. They obviously are being very effective against the Marauders. Adepts, a bit surprisingly come back in on such a large map. I'm kind of with Dream. I would have been surprised if they had continued the Adept pressure after it kind of failed, but it's still going on. Not that it's on too much, but it's probably messing Dream's macro up quite a bit. Oh, no, the Widowmine. All it takes is like any additional damage on a Phoenix for Widowmine to one-shot it. Almost like a Warp Prism. That was a lot to watch out there. Adepts finally do go home. Behind this Hurricane went to a 3rd Nexus and is getting that probed up. Blink +1 and Colossus are on the way. Dream, as I said, probably messed up his build a little bit from that, but seems to be doing okay. Only lost the 3 SCVs to the 3 probes. Quite even. Did they take away the sound of this popping up, by the way? This used to make a very loud, like, ching. Okay, well, explore that another day. 1 single Phoenix can be used for anti-drop defense. Probably its best use, right? And it will scout the Widowmine drop. Can't stop it, really? As it just boosts ahead, but can almost guarantee the kill. Go for the goals. Now, this doesn't do any damage, but it does distract the army from the front lines, and Dream's gonna go for it. Unfortunately, no medevacs here. Means that it's a bit dangerous every time he stims. This medevac somehow survives. Phoenix would have had trouble chasing it down entirely, but it also just missed where it was coming out of. And Dream decides, you know what? No. Not gonna do this attack. He had all the upgrades lined up for it, but no medevacs to support, and I guess that was too much to handle what he saw with the Widow Mines. Possibly a supply block that I missed or something along those lines. Now he's back. This observer is only gonna be able to see the army moving out if it doesn't move extremely north. Or if it doesn't do a drop. 2 drops on the way. 1 full of Marines, 1 with the Widow Mines. Hurricane does not have many units prepped for this. No cannons quite yet. Someone is building, and a 4th base is on the way, but he is going to reposition his army now. Probably just in his mind internally thinking, okay, there should be drops on the way if the army's not moving out, if the army's not doing anything. And he'd be right about that. It's kind of a good thing to have an instinct on. Cannon is going to do a tiny bit of damage here. Widowmine's going to go for a very tricky spot in the high ground. You know what? Hurricane hasn't even noticed. Oh my good lord. 4 more probes go down, plus another 2. Not too bad, not too bad. Considering it wasn't scouted, it actually had a lot of potential to do more, but these Marines are sad. Super sad. They're not going to win against this. And now they have to try and take on the Phoenix. Which Hurricane's not going to allow to happen, so... Kind of a silly little drop right there. But Dream seems to be using it just to keep tabs on his Protoss opponent as he is really macroing up. Faster 4th base than the previous games. He's got another starport on the way since he scouted, you know, it is Colossus first. And eventually we'll see a Ghost Academy, but later. He's even going to go into the Fusion Core, so his choice here is not actually to go into Vikings to straight up counter the Colossus, but Liberators, which kind of serve a different role. They generally counter Protoss armies, right? They're not bad, that's for sure. But in a funny way, there was even a time where you could say Colossus kind of countered them. They can push through the Liberator fields, especially if the Liberator fields aren't high enough, like the numbers aren't high enough. They don't have range, they don't have +2, and they only have 6 Liberators. Actually, a Protoss army can still push through that. Colossus are also still pretty good at mobility. Obviously not the fastest unit in the world, but they can posture around a person who is depending purely on sieging and unsieging units. So that's the weaknesses of the Liberators. But right now, the weakness of Dream is that he doesn't have a lot of them. His tech choice has not really come to fruition quite yet, but he is working on it. And Thunderbird does provide at least easy access to 3 bases. Easy defense on 3 bases. And Dream, I don't believe was really super committed to this attack. It is kind of in his right to posture, though. The Observer was taken out eventually, but he just saw the army just waiting there for a long time. So if it's just a couple of 1 medevac drops, Whirlwinds will take care of that. Otherwise, yeah, control the field. More power to you. Thank you, Kong Koro, for the Twitch Prime sub. Love all these players. GSL round of 4 for Hurricane. GSL round of 32 for Dream. Lasers, lasers, lasers. Storm was about to finish as well, and Dream was not too quick to that Ghost Academy. He is locked into his 3 bases. And I don't think it's... I'm not going to blame Liberators here for that. Vikings would also be kind of scared to go down the choke here, because they also would not have been in super high numbers. But I do believe Dream was a little late to just transitioning over into that late game. The 4th base timing was fantastic, but especially since he was so well scouted for so long, it kind of felt like he just was too late to start in Liberator production. And he didn't have any control over the map to kind of buy more time or take good fights with concaves. So he gets stuck on his 3rd, natural, whatever. Gets stuck up there on the choke. And, oh, there were storm drops. Oh, shit. Well, there was attempted storm drops. Didn't actually work. For like 5 SCVs. Okay. And now he's going to have a hell of a time going down that ramp against all this splash. But eventually when he's maxed out, he should be able to, just little by little, push forward. His upgrades have finished up here, 2-2-1. We'll definitely want to start that +2 ship weapons. And the good news is, despite being locked into these bases, Dream was not trading. So he's accumulating his own bank, even though he's starting to fall behind in the expansion process since Hurricane had the freedom to go for a 5th. He also had the freedom to go for a 6th. He just needs to take care of this Widow Mine. He even opened up the minerals. But Dream finally pushes down. Liberator count got up to 9. That's kind of the point where, especially with range and their upgrade, this is the flip. This is like, you know, me saying Liberators aren't that strong. Every Pro player was like, Jesus, ZombieGrub, you're so biased. The flip is when you get to like 8 Liberators with any of those upgrades, that's when suddenly you just actually should have need Tempest usually to deal with it. But maybe not. Maybe if the army's out of position, not paying attention, sim a little bit late, Liberators not facing the right direction, Center Tower not down here to notice that Hurricane was moving in from this direction, loses Dream a ton of supply that honestly, if his Liberators were siege up in the right direction, would have been the stupidest thing Hurricane would have done, I think. If every single Liberator was pointed in this direction on this choke, there's no way that Hurricane pushes down there. But he saw an opportunity with only 3 of these circles facing to the south and only half of the Bio Army actually being there. And he takes a bit of a supply lead. Not the end of the game, but a good supply lead. And there's the Tempest now to try and combat the growing Liberator count. That's like high GM, right? Yes, if they're at the point where their ladder account kind of doesn't matter. It mostly matters how they compete in best ofs. But yes, they're like top 25 GM. It's a lot of storms. And the ghosts were never produced? Oh no, totally. Yeah, I just missed them. Okay, 7 ghosts, never mind. So, the ultimate army for Terran at this point is Liberator, Ghost, Viking. As the Tempest come out, Dream will have to produce Vikings. He already is. He already figured that out. He literally sees them now. And honestly, you just start to not really have a lot of bio. You just literally have bio to drop with, and that's kind of it. And Dream isn't quite there yet. He's also still working on his upgrades. I guess Hurricane is too. Hurricane didn't have the fastest of upgrades. And a little drop here. I want to say it was a mistake to bring the High Templar, especially 4 of them, or sorry, ghosts. They're not necessarily the best thing to drop with, but you know what? Dream's starting to convince me otherwise. Snipes on the Zealots, EMP on the entire army. Another EMP. You can also, like, if he's thinking like 500 IQ and awesome, you can EMP a Nexus to stop them from recalling. But that is only especially useful if you're like doom dropping. 2 medevac drops. I mean, maybe they do a lot of carnage in the main as your army's out in the middle of the map. It's very possible, but if Hurricane's not max, which he now is, then you can reinforce and deal with it that way. All those High Templars going a little too far forward. What you doing there, buddies? What you doing there? This is a great little lip for the Vikings to hover over to take on the Tempest without the Stalkers helping too much, but they get chased a little overzealous, chasing into that army. But they took down a lot of those Tempests. Tempest, very, very fragile units. Supposed to make up for it with speed, but if they're ever caught a little too far forward, or if all their storms have been EMP'd away, then they look kind of vulnerable. Double drop still going here. Second double drop, actually, but that's what Dream should be doing. As I was saying, I think the best army is actually going into more ghosts here. More libs, more ghosts, more Vikings. I only am saying this because Cure put on quite a TVP clinic in 2 weeks ago, Zalima League, I want to say? Maybe? Or maybe at Cast, I don't even remember anymore. And that was what his composition was. And it was actually kind of funny to watch the Protoss really struggle against it. But we'll see how this works out. Dream still doing some drops, finds a couple of the probes here. I mean, probe damage really hasn't been too bad, but SCVs have also died in that one attack on the 4th base. Another... Is that a Tempest that died? Something died. But the Vikings already on top of the Tempest. Here's also another thing that Dream has to consider is what does he attack? The Tempest or the Colossus? Right now, he's mostly going for the Tempest, so the Storms not EMP'd, blanketed the army, and the Colossus not torn down, got all of their shots off. And Dream's army gets very, very low. His medevacs are also almost non-existent at this point. That last one's gonna go down there. And what that looked like Dream was bullying Hurricane back, I think that was deceiving. It was actually Hurricane taking a much better fight. Hurricane's also adding in those Disruptors, which will be glorious against what is still a very high amount of bio units on the ground. Will also help shoo away the ghosts in an ideal world, but that's when the play comes in, the Liberators versus the Disruptors, the EMPs versus the blah 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 blah. Micro, guys. Micro. +2 ship is almost done. That's considerable. Hurricane also started working on his own air upgrades alongside Shield, which affect everything. Planetary is looking strong, but no upgrades on it. No armor, no range. And oh my god, that storm just blanketed the Vikings. Going through the choke like that was an excellent position for Hurricane to abuse. EMPs do catch a lot of the High Templars, but not all of them. So many of them still behind the Colossus, well protected. Tempest just shelling away from above. Nothing to counter these units. Just a concave and a bit of hope, a dream. That's what he's hoping on. Vikings are on the way, but it looks like Dream can barely afford them. Despite being on 5 bases, this one's only half mining, and this one's not even done quite yet. I guess he's also scanning so much, doesn't have a lot of mules being dropped. Simply can't afford all the things that he needs right now. Every single time he brings a Viking forward, the Tempest pick it off. Oh, the tides have turned. It was bullying Hurricane back, but as I said, I think the appearances were deceiving. I actually think that he didn't quite have the perfect composition, but Dream now using the mobility of his bio army to his advantage, or trying to anyways. He had a ghost or two to try and cancel the recall, but either didn't think about it, or was too late to it, or I don't even know. Maybe he didn't have AMPs. Point is, the recall happens, saves the base, and takes care of the army. It does buy Dream a little bit of time, but he is down 60 almost army supply here. And even though he's trying to boldly go forward, this is like a chihuahua, like, yelling at you. This is actually not scary. It might hurt. EMPs might hurt. A bite from a chihuahua probably hurts, but you could also just punt the damn thing and be done with it. That's kind of the situation here. Hurricane's about to punt Dream's entire life away. He tried to catch the observer, he couldn't. Oh, that's such a... Oh my god, that's such salt in the wound. Vikings, once again, all types of clumped up on storms that aren't being EMP'd away is a total disaster. Hurricane is bullying. Oh, bully. And there's gonna be the closer. All this army's very weak. Oh, you Disruptor. Good splits against Disruptors. That's one thing we've learned from Dream today. He's good against Disruptors. But the army's not even being fully healed up here. Just go for the gold, Hurricane. I believe in you. EMP. Oh, that was a good EMP, but does it matter? No, it doesn't. GG. GG, GG, GG. GG.